So, to start off, violence against the media has been rising lately after a decline. A major reason historically and currently is partisan politics. Journalists are killed mostly because of their reporting on politics, crime, and corruption. We can also see this happening due to state controlled media governments. In a report from the UNESCO in 2019, the murder of journalists went up 18% within the past 5 years. 55% of journalists killed were in non conflict zones. 9 out of the 10 murders of journalists across the world remain unsolved as of November 2020. So, a major question is, does this still happen in America? The very simple answer is yes. The United States is not one of the top regions where violence against the media happens the most, but it does still occur infrequently. So during the Black Lives Matter protests over the spring-summer of 2020, many journalists faced rubber bullets against them as they reported on the scene, and some were even arrested. One journalist even went blind in her left eye due to being shot by a rubber bullet. CNN journalists and anchors also said that they have seen an uptick in death threats over the past few years. Also during the Black Lives Matter protests, journalists were attacked by police about 140 times during the week of May 26th. I included some pictures of this from the protests back in May and June of this year. The picture on the top right is Linda Tirado, who lost her eyesight from being shot by a rubber bullet while reporting on the scene. The photo on the top left is CNN journalist Omar Jimenez, who was arrested on live broadcast while covering the protests. So, next I want to talk about some countries where we've been seeing violence and silencing journalists most recently, one of those being India. In 2018, 3 journalists were killed in India for covering topics such as child marriage, illegal sand mining, and reporting on Kashmir, which Kashmir was a dispute between India and Pakistan over the area known as Kashmir. In 2020, Reporters Without Borders listed India as number 142 on its World Press Freedom list. Journalists covering riots in New Delhi in 2020, reporters were shot and a couple had their teeth knocked out by mobs. Around March and April of 2020, editors were called to governmental offices to make sure that they would report on the state's positive response to the coronavirus, but a few spoke out, leading to arrest and detainment of journalists by the Indian government. Another country that I'd like to talk about is China. They are the world's leader in jailing journalists. So just to talk about a little history on China, their media landscape has only undergone very significant changes within the past 20 years. The Chinese government owns a majority of public media within the Chinese borders. China's media has become market-oriented lately and reports more on crime and corruption. Chinese governments can't really protect themselves from threats due to the current laws. In 2020, China has ranked number 177 on the World Press Freedom Index. The majority of the media is state-controlled. They also lead the world in jailing journalists. 48 journalists are in jail in China for reporting on various stories, and they're jailed for, quote, anti-state charges and accusations of falsifying news. A recent case of this is an anti-corruption journalist, Chen Jiaran, who was sentenced to 15 years in jail in May 2020 for what many say was to punish him for political speech on the popular app WeChat. During the outbreak of COVID-19 in Wuhan, many journalists and doctors spoke out as whistleblowers. A spokesperson from RSF, Rebecca Vincent, said, "If there had been free press in China, if the whistleblowers hadn't been silenced, then this could have been prevented into becoming a pandemic." Finally, how does freedom of press rank around the globe? So, some countries that lead in freedom of press within the 180 countries, Norway, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, and the Netherlands are in the top 5 spots. So where does the United States fall? The United States ranks at number 45, falling just behind Italy, the Czech Republic, and South Korea. Some countries with the worst rankings: Russia fell in at number 149. Middle Eastern countries like Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Syria ranked within the 160 to 170-ish range, and ranking at 180, the worst for freedom of press within those 180 countries, was North Korea. Thank you so much.